Welcome to Bay Area Psychology. Tonight we will be challenging stereotypes of mental illness. When we think of mental illness, many of us picture someone much like the gentleman we're about to see.
Schizophrenia strikes 1 in 100. There are different degrees of severity. But to see the disease at its most severe is to see it untreated. We first met David when he had just come in from the cold to Project Reach Out. Although he agreed to talk to our producer, DeWitt Sage, he was also deeply suspicious. David is a paranoid schizophrenic.
My stomach kind of gives me trouble when I don't have enough sleep. The stomach and the legs are the two things that tend to most prominently go when I don't sleep.
Reach Out's Mike Mastrogiovanni is David's caseworker.
Oops.
Happens often.
Yeah. What happened to the lens there?
They fell off my face one day in their glass, and they were cold, and it was cold, so they were probably a little extra brittle and mango.
Because this happened since the last time I saw you, right? Which was just.
Which was a couple days ago. Yeah, it fell and hit the sidewalk, and it's glass lens. So.
Have you confirmed your prescription? Is it the right prescription? You were gonna check that out.
I haven't. I can't answer that at the moment, but the reason that I'm setting you up so that I can confirm the prescription is having had lenses stolen, so on tape, having had glasses disappear and then reappear when I squawked. So I definitely must, so that I can be safe crossing streets, make sure that I get the correct prescription. Right. And that means all the way from the stage of getting the prescription to actually having the glasses made. And one other thing I'd really appreciate, in the light of what else is on the tape, this is going to make sense, I really appreciate if there's no transmitter embedded in the frame. Okay?
Statistical estimates of the prevalence of emotional disturbance in our country have ranged from 1 in 7 to 1 in 10 Americans. This means that you or someone you love may experience a depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, alcohol or drug addiction, or even schizophrenia over the course of a lifetime. With numbers this high, it seems to me that mental illness may in many ways be a cultural norm. And in fact, cultural contributions to the development of mental disorders should not be overlooked. One of the positive sides to advances in biochemistry is that perhaps some of the moral labels or hopelessness or even fear of mental illness will ease. We are fortunate to have with us Mr. Irvin Dean, President of the Alliance for the Mentally Ill here in Santa Clara County. And thank you for being with us tonight, Mr. Dean.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Now, we did open with a clip from Frontline about a man who had not received treatment at this point for his mental disorder. And we are going to be talking tonight about stereotypes, and there were several that may have popped into mind when people were seeing this clip. I'm wondering if you would care to comment.
Well, this represents an extreme paranoid schizophrenic where he's homeless on the street, denying that he has an illness, that feeling persecuted, feeling very afraid of everything. And I saw this previously on TV, where you excerpted it. And there are a few people like that in Santa Clara County, something like maybe 20 to 30 individuals, actually. Okay. We have 1.5 million population, and that's, okay, a pretty small number. And they're always being approached, as this person was, with help and trying to see if they're willing to cooperate and get treatment.
Okay. And in your experience, do people on this end of the continuum, at this extreme level, tend to receive help?
Well, if they will cooperate. If they don't cooperate, the only way that they get help is if they're taken in voluntarily for treatment.
Okay.
And that requires, the legal basis for that is if they are a danger to others, a danger to themselves, or gravely disabled, unable to provide for themselves, and that sort of thing. The latter is usually not used. This person that we saw in this clip would kind of be a borderline case, but he is you know, he's not starving to death and he's not freezing to death, and he's getting, somehow he's living. So, but it's a judgment call as to whether they're gravely disabled sufficiently that they would be essentially arrested and taken to emergency psychiatric services for evaluation and possibly further treatment.
So you're mentioning that someone at this end of the continuum is actually a fairly small number of people that we're talking about.
Yes.
Because, you know, I've heard people, you know, we talk about homelessness and people talk about that. They cite large numbers of homeless population being mentally ill.
Right. Well, you know, as you said, it said in the clip, 1% approximately have paranoid schizophrenic case, and we have 1.5 million population.
Okay.
So that's a lot more than 20 or 30 people.
Okay.
And most of them are either hospitalized or as he might be for a while, but then they can be stabilized, and the current efforts in the county are to move them from hospitalization or skilled nursing lock facilities to the community.
Okay.
And again, numbers are in the low hundreds as far as long-term lock care is concerned.
Actually, that movement really did begin when Reagan decided to have the community mental health movement and began to release people in great numbers from different institutions all over California.
Yeah.
Now, one of the difficulties about that is there was not enough money and provision made in the community. So then you had people who sort of got lost in the cracks. Let's take a look at some of the myths that we're going to challenge this evening. Let's take a look at our first clip. First of all, myths of mental illness. Abnormal behavior is invariably bizarre. As a group, formal mental patients are unpredictable and dangerous, and mental illness is always caused by bad parenting. So I thought we could tackle a few of those, and you could give me your personal insight about that.
Well, the bad parenting is really a myth. I guess, I'm not sure exactly where it originated, but it was fairly popular, I guess, or came out of the Freudian school of psychiatry. And there was really no basis, scientific evidence for that, just as there really isn't any scientific evidence that stress or trauma can actually, except in a short term, affect people towards having the symptoms that are included in severe mental illness.
Okay.
And what were some of the others?
We talked about the abnormal behavior as always being bizarre.
Oh, yeah. Well, usually the people who are mentally ill, particularly with treatment, is not bizarre. They tend to be disabled somewhat in difficult mental tasks. They may well be reticent to do things. They kind of, if anything, I think they're like a disabled person in that they are fearful of getting in strange situations that they can't handle because of their disability. And so they tend to not go out as much, you know, into public as they probably should.
Okay.
One of the things that we urge is that mentally ill people go to the local libraries or enroll in some class that they think they can handle at a community college and get out, you know. Right. And I think they realize that they should, but they don't. They either lack self-confidence or have other reasons why they don't feel that they can do many things that people without a disability would be able to do fairly easily.
Well, I think part of that too may be cultural bias they may come across, because, you know, one of the other blurbs there in our myths was the belief that mentally ill people are always dangerous or unpredictable in some way.
Yeah, they're certainly, they have recognition of some of those stereotypes, and they do feel that people don't understand them, and that they may, you know, have bad experiences in letting people know that they have a mental illness. Most of the people who have mental illness are really trying to ignore the fact that they have a mental illness and not let people know that they have a mental illness. That's part of probably the stereotyping. The ones that stand out are the people like the one in the clip. The rest of the people are rather invisible. Okay. And many of them actually, particularly some of the bipolar people, others who can be successfully treated, are functioning in jobs and doing most of the things that anybody else does. Okay. So they tend to be a little bit invisible if, okay, if people don't really know them intimately.
Well, and in many ways, I think you're bringing up a good point that medication has, over the years, probably enabled more people to function prior to the invention of some of the medications we have now. People are functioning maybe a little more better out in the community. Yeah,
there's quite a stream of new medications coming along. You know, okay. The pharmaceutical people have been increasing their research quite a bit, and there are several medications in the last 5 years or so, and some of them have been used, particularly for schizophrenia, yeah, to have fewer people in the hospitals and IMDs, of the few that are still there. Right. See, it's being actually in this county, I think it's reduced about 50% in the last, wow, couple of years.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will hear one woman's evolution in her understanding of mental illness. Stay tuned. Ever had any stereotypes about mental illness?
I think they're pretty much unavoidable. I live in downtown San Jose, and I'm about 2 houses down from a residential care